Hello and welcome to this Tennessee Thunder podcast on Tuesday evening. Hope everybody out there is doing well. Remember, like, share, comment. We appreciate it. And good afternoon, good evening, good morning, whatever time it is, wherever you're watching. We appreciate you. Hello, Miss Stephanie.
Hi, good evening. How are you, Jason?
I'm tired.
You need an ice cream.
I need ice cream, a good nap, and I could $1 million would be nice. I'd give you a whole wish list.
I understand that totally. Well, we hope everyone is doing well out there this evening. Be sure to follow us, subscribe to our YouTube channel. It is at Tennessee Freedom Coalition on YouTube. We really need to get some more subscribers over there. As you know, Facebook is not always accommodating to us when we're naughty and we say too many things they don't like. So be sure to go over to YouTube, subscribe to our channel there. Every time I say this, everybody says, yep, I did that last night. So I mention it every time we podcast. Also, we're on Rumble now, and I'm sorry about my poor lighting. I just noticed how bad my lighting is. Usually I'm criticizing you, Jason. Now tonight, my lighting sucks, but I'm actually not at my regular studio tonight. So my lighting is a little bit dark in here. But you look great. You look fantastic, Jason, despite you being tired.
No.
You look fabulous.
Well, thank you. I tried.
Well, what have we got cooking tonight?
Well, we had breakfast for dinner, but anyways.
Oh, and that red looks very Republican.
Well, I am a Republican. Well, I'm a conservative.
I think you just froze on me.
Being a hey, you got some people. That wasn't a cat this time.
No, that was a human being walking behind me and showed right up on there. I was like, wow, we must have some ghost in here.
But no,
but as you notice behind me,
you got to be careful using that a Republican word here in Union County, because you're a lot of times here in Union County, if you're a Republican, it seems like you're more a Democrat. So at least when it comes to
that's true.
To certain folks, anyway.
Quit walking behind me, please. He's not used to this, so sorry about that, folks.
Sometimes it's a cat, sometimes it's a dog, sometimes it's just people.
It's just people, random people walking behind me. So behind me on the green screen, which is not, we don't have the professional setup yet, but this is a photo of an old photo, actually, of Baltimore, Maryland. And our hearts and thoughts go out to those folks this morning in Baltimore, Maryland. Unfortunately, the city suffered a tragedy with the Francis Scott Key Bridge falling into the lake, into the river. And we lost some lives, I believe. About 6 people passed away, or at least are unaccounted for, but 2 actually, they were rescued. I found out this afternoon, and I am so sorry. There's someone behind me. Okay, so anyway, go ahead, Jason. I'm sorry. Go ahead. We're just not prepared tonight. So
the only county commission or county meeting left for this week or this month. Now you got me stumbling. The only meeting left that I know about this month will be coming up this Thursday night at 6 p.m. and that's a jail committee meeting. If you're interested in finding out information on what the plans are going to be for this jail, they're going to start hammering out some details so they can send it off to the architects and all that kind of good stuff, and what kind of ideas that they're going to be looking at. We're going to talk about some other things that came up as far as the jail goes in the conversation with last night's county commission meeting. And but Thursday night, 6 p.m., large courtroom is the next meeting. That's the 28th. So plan on being there. Find out what they got going on with the jail. I know Sydney Jesse, who's the jail committee's leader, spoke about he wants to kind of finalize some ideas on what it's going to look like, what they expect to have in it, and that kind of thing. And, the mayor also pointed out in the county commission meeting that he would like some classrooms and things like that to be put in the jail as well, so they can start using some of that money they got from the prescription pain pill lawsuit and all that kind of good stuff. I think they're getting several hundreds of thousands of dollars, if not millions, over the next 18 years. So, and they can only use that for programs to try to get people off of those drugs and education and those kinds of things. So that's the next meeting.
So we have not been able to come up with a final date on our next mixer. I am sorry about last week. I just wanted to explain to all of you who were looking for us last week what happened. I came down with a stomach bug from Hades last week, actually Tuesday night. I woke up very sick. It was not, I don't even want to describe it. It was really, really awful. And we call it a butt kicker. I haven't been that sick in probably several years. And so long story longer, I was sick until about Thursday or Friday. So we were not able to really do any kind of lives or any type of activities last week. And I didn't want to be around anybody as far as any type of social things that we do with the coalition. So it is a very contagious stomach bug. If you have not had it, you don't want it. But if you do get it, you will know it fast, because you go from feeling completely normal 1 minute to feeling like you're dying the next minute. And so I was eating nothing I probably lost about 10 pounds over a few days, and couldn't hardly keep any liquids down the first 36 hours, and finally got back on liquids and started eating some crackers by the end of the week. So it was almost like having COVID. I compared it, Jason, to having, it was very COVID-like, except it was short. It was shorter than COVID, but that is exactly how I felt. I even tried to find a test strip, but apparently they don't make those anymore, or they're in short supply. So I couldn't see if I had it or not. So just kind of stayed away from everybody. But unfortunately, about 2 or 3 of my family members caught it from me. And I don't know if they gave it to me or if I gave it to them. But either way, we were all sick for the entire
Sharing
week.
is caring. That's what they say. Sharing is caring.
So anyway, I hope everybody is doing fantastic. We woke up this morning to the tragic news of that bridge falling, and I think that just kind of hit everybody out of the blue. And I think we've had some more information about the details of that ship come in this evening. Nothing verified, but there may be some. We'll see what happens tomorrow with the news. But they do not tell us everything. We have to dig around on independent media to find a lot of the information that's given to us. We don't have mainstream media telling us a whole lot, because they are, as you know, state-ran media, and they don't want us to know the truth. They want to keep us in the dark. And so if you're not following people on independent media, I would urge you to do so. You can do that on X. You can do it on YouTube. You can do it on Rumble. There's tons of other platforms that you can find good media. Just be careful with any of it, because a lot of it is propaganda on the left and the right. So just pray for discernment when you're looking through media.
What do you think about that Ronald McDaniel getting canned after 5 days on NBC?
Saw that. I didn't get to really look at it a whole lot, but yeah, that was very interesting.
Yeah, they didn't want no any type of conservative on that on NBC there. That might have ruined their reputation.
Yeah.
All right. Well, so let's talk about some things we've had going on here. We didn't get to talk about the budget and finance meeting last week. Not a whole lot happened in that meeting, but what did happen was kind of smack you in the faces. One thing that happened was Commissioner Flatford decided that she wanted to announce, even though she hadn't even talked to her counterpart here in the 4th District, which is kind of dirty if you ask me, but she announced that she found some property that they needed to look into purchasing for the Big Ridge Community Center. You know, they've been looking for property for a couple years now, and all this kind of stuff, and they finally found, or she finally found, this property. I'm cracking myself up on the inside. It's kind of funny to me. But anyways, so she found this property. Like I said, she didn't even mention it to the other commissioner here in the 4th District. And it was news to him, my understanding. But so that property just happens to be owned by the same person. If you remember back, the same person that she tried to buy property from before, and they got turned down, right? You know, that she took it to county commission. County commission said no. You remember, that's where we learned about you know, the ground being you know, perking for septic and all that. That's where we had all that knowledge that we gained, or at least I did anyway. But the property before wasn't usable, but she was trying hard to get that purchased. Well, this happens to be the same person owns it. Last time it was, if you're looking at the house that sits in the middle of these properties, before, again, if you're facing the house, before it was on the right side. This time it's the left side of the house. So same basic property, just different side of the house, and that kind of thing. So this was announced last in the budget and finance meeting, and that he was asking $40,000 for it, so on and so forth. And then the discussion got in there that, oh, well, we've got to jump on that. We need to go ahead and see if we can get the mayor to put it on the agenda, and we've got to do all this stuff because we can't come up with land that cheap, and all these kinds of things. You know, the same old song that we always hear. We got to hurry up and buy it. And so yeah, so that happened. And then and to specify where this property is, it's on Hickory Valley, almost when you get to 61. Kind of just to place it a little bit, there's an old white store right there in the corner of 61 and Hickory Valley, kind of. This will be a property on that same side of the street, just like basically the next property over. So it's real close there, and we're gonna talk about some more comments made about that property last night, which kind of telling if you ask me, but that happened last night. We're talking about last week's meeting. So what else happened in that meeting? So, well, Commissioner Lay stepped in it once again with his zoning, and this county needs zoning stuff, and he started talking about that. Apparently, there's a property owner across the street from where he lives that's tearing down some trees and hauling in some dirt and doing whatever he chooses to do on his own property. Well, Commissioner Lay is upset because it got his cars dirty and it got his house dirty because the dust cloud from hauling that dirt came on over there and dirtied up his property there, his house, and he had to wash his cars and all that stuff.
Isn't
And
he
so
on
he
the
thinks,
main highway?
yeah, it's right there. He even mentioned Lay's Body Shop. It got them cars dirty over there too. So if you know where
So
Lay's Body Shop is, he's talking about the property directly across the street.
So he's sitting in the middle of a construction zone, basically. The road is all torn up from the state. He has been at that property for many, many years. Ever since I first came to Union County over 30 years ago, he's lived on Highway 33, okay, in this area. Anybody who knows where Lay's is, I mean, that was, his business. So he's lived there knowing that he's going to get a lot of additional traffic or additional action on that particular stretch of road. So why is it taking him all these years to decide, well, I'm getting dust from this highway when he's been there all this time? And I'm sure he's gotten dust before.
Well,
from
here's the rub. This is what he says, right? And I'm not quoting exactly. I'm just paraphrasing. It wasn't an issue until this guy started tearing down the trees and hauling in dirt from Knox County. I think that is part of the problem. He's hauling in dirt from Knox County. Apparently, Knox County dirt isn't any good and shouldn't be brought up here in Union County. So he's upset about that. And I don't know if there's beef between them or anything like that. I don't know the backstory. Okay, I don't, because other than his house and his cars and everything getting dirty, that's all I know as far as the story. Then he even went further and said this guy also owns more property down on Satterfield. And he's tearing down the trees and hauling in dirt and maybe even has a junkyard down Satterfield. Well, by then, after he got all this out, he caught himself and he knew he done used that zoning word again, I think. This is just my opinion. And so he kind of backtracked a little bit, right? And he says, well, I think I got to urge this county commission to get the state involved. The state needs to come in here and see what this guy's doing with this dirt and test it and all this other stuff. But we definitely need some zoning in there and in this county, and we need to look into seeing what we can do. But we definitely have to urge this county commission to get the state to come down here and investigate. Well, then somebody else had to jump on the bandwagon, and that was Commissioner Greg Dyer. And he jumped on the bandwagon about zoning because and I'm going to state this before I even get there, right? I'm not stating I have an opinion for or against the chicken farm, right? I'm not getting in that argument. That's something beyond my control or anything else. I'm not getting in the chicken farm argument, period.
It's irrelevant anyway. It's already done.
I'm simply stating what Commissioner Dyer said, okay? So he jumped on the bandwagon. He's like, yep, we've got to look into getting some zoning in here because that chicken farm up there in Sharp's Chapel, they're doing things up there that they weren't approved for and this, that, and the other. And he got to talking about how they were only supposed to build 3, I don't remember exactly, 3 or 5 buildings, but they've got like 15 they're working on and just all kinds of stuff, right? And so we definitely got to look into having some control and some zoning in this county. And we've got to get to working on that because, people doing what they want on their own property isn't right. I just said that. I added that part, okay? but basically that's the way I feel is that's, to me, that's what zoning is. It's trying to get people not to have the freedom to do what they want on their own property. And I understand you can't build a meth lab on your own property. I get that part. I get things like that. You can't break the law. You can't do those kind of things.
Well,
And there's
there are already
there's
laws protecting us against those things. So zoning
but
is an entirely different animal.
when you get into zoning, and it's kind of like what I was talking to Leslie about earlier, you get into zoning, well, then that just opens the door. So, now they can, start putting regulations in there, whatever, zoning laws in there that say, okay, well, you can't have a yellow house. You can only have a red house, or your grass can't
Yep.
be more than 3 inches tall. It's a slippery slope, and and maybe that's an extreme way to look at it, but either way, it
It's
opens the door to get there.
I grew up in Knox County. Okay. I'm one of those transplants. And I can tell you this, there were people in the community where I lived, and this is many years ago. This was even before the zoning Nazis came around, as bad as they are now. We had a woman over there that was an accountant. And, for a long time, she was able to run her accounting business. And then when they changed the zoning, she had to go through all this rigmarole to just get her business to be able to keep it. It's just a little home office where she's running her accounting practice out of. Wasn't even a place for people to, I guess they could have come over, but she was just doing an independent accounting practice in her own house. And because of zoning, she had to go through all these hurdles. And then we had some other people running like beauty salons and different things in a residential neighborhood. And this is a slippery slope. And I know that many of you have talked. We talked about this on social media this week about zoning and the pros and cons of zoning. There's more cons than there are pros. I can tell you that it's a slippery slope, because what you're doing is you're inviting the government to come in and make decisions on your property for you. And as we know, those of us who don't exactly trust government, and we have reasons to not trust government, you are inviting a nightmare scenario where now, if you want to have a small business, you have to go through some kind of a zoning commission just to get approval. So it impedes your ability to make a living in your own house, or your ability to, like you said, have a certain color building or a certain type of yard, or anytime you have to get any changes, you have to go through all this zoning, and it's a nightmare. And there's people already in Union County drinking the Kool-Aid, the zoning Kool-Aid, that's saying, oh, it's for the overall good of the community. Now, who does that sound like? It's for the better good.
Well, look at what already happened in Plainview. The city of Plainview, and Manorville has some zonings too, but the city of Plainview just passed their zoning law that said you cannot build a tiny home or anything like that less than 400 square feet. Again, you're infringing on my right to do what I choose to do on the property that I purchased with my money. And again, like I said, I understand certain circumstances, but if you wanted to start a business, right? You just wanted to start a little bed and breakfast or whatever, and just make it a little tiny home village, just like a campground, but instead of having campers, you've got tiny homes. You couldn't do that in Plainview because of this new law that they just passed, or new zoning law that they passed, and that kind of thing. And I don't think, again, without certain circumstances, I don't think people should be told what they can or can't do on their own property. If you don't, like you said, it's just a slippery slope, and I think we're asking for trouble when we start doing that. Number one. Number two, Union County ain't big and bad enough yet to start doing some of that stuff, right? And we're going to talk about this in a few minutes too. But we don't even have anybody we don't even have a building inspector, okay, in Union County. So even if they did this zoning stuff, who's going to enforce it? But they've got a solution for some of that. We're going to talk about that in a minute.
Well,
But
it also opens up the door. You know, we've been hearing these complaints about all these developments going into these farmlands, farm areas. You know, people can buy up land and in big parcels and put all types of development in those areas. Now, they can do that either way, but when you start having zoning,
well, I think even, I don't mean to cut you off, but I think even some of these commissioners' family members are doing that very thing and building houses wherever they can stick them and that kind of thing. So, you know, it's kind of
well,
talking out both sides of their mouth.
you're opening up a can of worms because you say, well, I'm discouraging that, but you're also encouraging developers to come in just by saying, you know, we've got all this area zoned for residential use or for development use. And you start, you know, cutting your county into little segments and building all these little walls, then you're going to start having all these big developments. And that's exactly what's been happening over in West Tennessee, in like places like, I guess it's Sumner County, where they've been eat up by all these big developers coming in and just buying up all their farmland. These are people that's got money to burn. Money is no problem because they've got millions and millions and millions of dollars to spend and throw away. Because they're used to buying such expensive properties that even our properties here are cheaper than what they've been used to purchasing. So they see it as a great investment, and then they bring in more people from the outside to live here because they're again ready to spend all kinds of money because they've been living in much higher cost of living areas across the country.
Well, now you sound like Cheryl Walker. She says, you know, them people that come out here and build these $1 million houses, they don't care how much their building permit's going to cost. They got
And
money. They just like to spend it.
But you know, she also said 1%. There's only about 1% of those people that even qualify for being really rich people.
Right.
And I listened to it, and I'm sorry to cut in again, but I listened to the part where they were talking about a flat $400 fee for permits for building. Hey, did you listen to that part, or are you about to get into that?
No, I listened to all that. That's still an ongoing discussion. And we'll get into that on the county commission meeting. They finally announced what they were going to do. So, well, kind of announced what they were going to do. So, we'll talk about that in just a minute. But so the only other thing really that happened in that budget and finance meeting was, again, you go back to the discussion about the guy across the street from Larry Lay's house. You know, apparently, according to Commissioner Lay, he doesn't even have a business license, and he's running a business illegally, and we've got to look into that too, and all this kind of thing. And then, of course, Commissioner Flatford had to get in there and, well, I've got my boat and RV storage, and I've even got a business license, and I had to do it the right way, so everybody else needs to do it the right way too. Which I'm not going to disagree with that part. Everybody needs to do things the right way. I'll agree with. But how do they know that this guy has a business license or not if they've not already started looking into him? That'd be kind of my question. And are we looking into him? I assume it's a him. But are we looking into him as a vendetta? Because that's kind of what it's sounding like a little bit. You got my car dirty, you got my house dirty, and now I don't want you there no more. And that kind of thing. Because, and I say that because, and like you said, the highway, the state is building the highway there, and they're digging up dirt and tearing that, and, you know, you go through there, and there's signs everywhere, you know, blasting zone and all this kind of stuff. Who's to say that they didn't set off some dynamite and trying to break some rocks up somewhere that caused that dust cloud that, came over and got his house dirty. Who says it wasn't that? And it might not have been the guy across the street.
That was exactly my point, is that he's in a construction zone. He's going to have dust. I mean, what does he expect to have completely clean air while this is going on? He's going to have sediments of all types coming over there. And I've been around that area, I can tell you that. And it looks like a regular construction zone. And that's exactly what they look like. I mean, there's dust everywhere in the air because it's blowing it. There's no way to keep it down. There's no grass. So anytime you have dry weather, that dust from that construction zone is going to kick up, make little whirlwinds, and go across the road. It's just part of it.
Right. And he said that he was going to talk to the planning commission about that. I have not, and I did not. I had a migraine yesterday, so I did not get to watch the planning commission or attend the planning commission meeting. So I don't know what happened in that, if he did or he didn't. Again, he was on the planning commission until he resigned after the last time he tried to put zoning in Union County, and we called him out for it, and that's when he resigned. But so that's all the details I've got on the last week's meeting. You got anything else you want to say?
As far as the zoning information, I had tried to download that from my camera, and because we have to download it to a desktop to upload it to StreamYard, the processing was very slow. So I'd hoped to show those clips tonight so you could see how our county commissioners are talking about these things. And hopefully I'll have some clips for the next podcast. I come across some really interesting footage, Jason, that I didn't even know about on that clip. And I think people need to see how county commissioners think about them when it comes to creating fees and taxation to create revenue. I mean, it's amazing how they think about you folks. You have no idea.
Blank checkbook is all we are.
Yeah, I mean, they were sitting there just as nonchalant saying, yeah, I don't think they'll really get too upset with us if we do this or if we do it that way. And they probably won't even really notice it that much. I mean, just a complete separation from understanding the reality of what we're facing in this country is amazing to me. It's just like, for them, we have no recession. It's business as usual. Let's just dream it and build it and figure out a way to fund it. And that's how a lot of them are. That's how they think of it. They don't care if it's bothering you that you're having to pay double in groceries, higher insurance, higher utility, higher everything. They don't care. They're just wanting you to absorb what they spend. And folks, I've got photos, and I can't wait to show it to you. I've got photos of the courtroom, of the commission meeting where the people are supposed to be sitting. I didn't hardly see anybody as far as we the people. I wasn't there because I didn't want to, still I'm fumigating. I didn't want anybody to catch anything, but, normally I'm there. Normally there's several people there, but we get what we get when we don't show up at these meetings. And I'm telling you, I've harped on this for 2 or 3 years and longer than that when I was writing for the paper. If you don't show up, the lobbyist will show up, and that's who they listen to. They won't listen to you if you don't show up and warm those seats.
Absolutely. And speaking of rising prices and all that kind of stuff, this is a shameless plug, okay? For all of those that like Lance crackers, okay? Because that's what I do for a living, right? All of you that like Lance crackers, right now, Food City has them on sale for $2.99 for the 8-pack, or I believe it's $2.99. I don't know if that goes off tomorrow or not, but I urge you to go buy your Lance crackers right now because the change is coming. and I'm not supposed to talk about it or give specifics, but after this week, next week, Lil Birdie told me, because I'm not going to claim that I'm telling you, but Lil Birdie told me prices are going up at least $1. So go get them right now while they're on sale, folks.
Did you see my plug at the bottom? Buy your Lance crackers now.
Hey, I appreciate that. Like I said, Food City, I believe they're on sale for $2.99. They might be. I don't know if they're on sale tomorrow or after tomorrow or whatever, but there you go, folks. That's my friendly advice. Go get you some, unless you want to pay $1 more for them. And the packaging is changing, and that kind of thing. So they're going to put 2 more packs of crackers in those boxes. So they're going to go from 8 count to 10 count. But they are going up $1, $1.10. So
I will tell you, Jason, I have given Lance Crackers a bunch of business over the last few weeks due to sickness. And I'll tell you what, those Lance Crackers are amazing when you've got a gut virus and you're trying to recoup and get yourself nursed back to health to where you're eating. I love my Lance Crackers. Yum, yum.
well, I'd say
Cheese.
thank you, but I got to know where you bought them from first.
I got the cheese, the cheesy ones, and I got the dark ones, and with the cheese or the peanut butter. I love them. I've still got some left, and I'm probably gonna have a pack after the podcast.
Right. Now I asked where you got them from, because I service Manorville, Food City, the 3 main grocery stores and Halls, and then East Town, Walmart, Food City, and Straw Plains, Food City. I do those stores, and Midway IGA and Target. That's kind of my area. So if you buy any from those areas, I greatly appreciate you, and so does
I
my
did.
family, because you're
I
helping
bought
pay my bills.
I bought all of the crackers from Food City, so you can rest easy tonight.
Well, I thank you. Like I said, that's my territory, and so I did tell Dorinda last night. Dorinda has her, not her, but Hines Creek food pantry. So I did tell her when I have to pick up all these 8 packs, uh, to be expecting to be getting some crackers from me, because last time I had to pick up a bunch of crackers, I think I gave her like $8,000 worth of crackers. I'm not bragging. I'm just talking. $8,000 worth of crackers to give out the food pantry. So hope she's expecting some more, because most likely I'll be having some more in the next few weeks. So anyways, that's just a silly side comment, but all right, we ready for last night's county commission meeting?
We are ready.
All right. Well, let's see. Middle school construction updates. There wasn't any because nobody showed up. But the mayor said you probably won't get any of those until they actually break ground on the new middle school. Union County Health Department had a spokesperson there. She actually runs the health department here in Union County, Miss Garnett Sutherland. She did a great job talking about the services that are available at the health department, and they're actually going to start some later clinics. So for folks that can't get there during the day, I think she said they would be staying open later, a couple times a week, maybe once a week. And they do vaccines for children and adults. They do have some other things that they can do, especially for like mammograms and things like that. So just contact your local Union County Health Department. She says they're not being utilized as good as they need to be utilized by the citizens of this county. And that's what they're here for. So we appreciate her coming down and giving all that information. She also said that they looked in, and she worked with some other folks from other counties, and to look in what areas of Union County aren't being served as well as they probably could be. And so, with that information, she has decided that they are going to start a remote WIC clinic in the chapel, and that's going to be one time a quarter. And if you need the information on when that's going to be and such, contact the health department. But they're going to be doing some improvements there to the health department. That's not going to cost the county any money. So, hey, good job for there. They're going to get a new roof. They're going to do some construction on the inside, which they have been doing. If you haven't been in there lately, it does look fantastic. And I'm sorry I said fantastic because that's Mayor Bailey's word that he likes using. But and they're also working on. They're going to have a drive-through type thing in case another pandemic comes, and that kind of thing. But they're also going to use the drive-through area also to give out flu vaccines and things like that for folks that can't get out of the car very easy, and all those kinds of things. So, good job for the Union County Health Department.
I hope we don't have another pandemic.
I don't either. I will also back up. I arrived a few minutes late, so I didn't get to catch the whole thing. But we did have a young lady that spoke in the public comment section. Like I said, I was late. Like I said, I had a migraine yesterday, and it's still lingering. So if I'm a little confused today, that's why, because my head is killing me. But anyways, so there was a young lady that gave a public comment about the 911 situation and how it was handled, and all that entailed the 911 board decided not to give those life-saving instructions and all that kind of thing. We've done podcast after podcast on that. The next 911 board, and I didn't write it down. I wish I did. I think it's the 8th, but I have to verify that, so don't hold me to it. The next 911 board meeting is on the 8th, I believe. The mayor hasn't posted next month's meetings yet. I urge everybody to go to that 911 board meeting because it's going to be very interesting to see what happens. But anyways, going back to the public comments last night, she did stand up, and she plans on, my understanding, the conversation I had with her, she plans on attending the 911 board meeting, the next one, and speaking her mind at that as well. So, very important that we attend this 911 board meeting just to see what they're going to do, see if they're going to actually reverse course and do what they should have done in the first place. I know they've kind of put in measures and what have you, saying that they're going to do it now, but the 911 board has not met yet to actually change their position officially. So I'm assuming that's what they're going to do in this upcoming board meeting. So I will try to get the date exactly for that. I'd like to see a big group of people show up there. So that was that. Sorry, I didn't mention that first. But good job. Let's see. Get back on my list here. The sheriff gave his sheriff's report, and he didn't take too kindly, I don't guess, for that young lady speaking about the 911 board. So after he gave his sheriff's report, he did make a comment. Does anybody have any comments about the 911 or sheriff's department or anything? And I just thought that was a little snub back at the young lady that did her public comment. All right, going on. I'm going to circle back to the mayor's report. The mayor gave his report, and it included several discussions on several properties that they've got to do something with, or properties that they're going to look into buying, and several different things. So we're going to start up the top of the list, which is the Steiner property. The Steiner property is the building that the Union County now owns. They did purchase it which is directly across the street from the courthouse. There was a discussion on what to do with that building. There's discussion. Are we going to build the jail there? Are we going to build a parking garage there? Are we going to do this? Are we going to do that? There was several different ideas thrown out. The original idea was to build a new jail, attach it to the county courthouse currently, or at least have a walkway over to it. And because it would take the parking lot, they bought the Steiner building. The Steiner building, they were going to turn into a 2-story parking garage. That was the original plan. That's why they originally purchased the Steiner building. So now they're still trying to figure out what they're going to do with it now that they own it. Commissioner Lay made a motion. Commissioner Jesse seconded the motion to start getting quotes on tearing that building down, and also quotes on the construction of the parking garage. I know in discussion with several other county commissioners, they wanted to look at the possibility of building the new jail on that property. But by this motion, I guess their ideas or their discussion of possibly wanting to build the jail over there kind of got kicked to the side. So they're going to start the process to get those quotes. And the idea that Mayor Bailey has is they're going to get one quote to get an idea of how much it's going to cost to tear this building down, and a quote on the parking garage, and then bring it back to county commission next month at county commission, and then go from there as to bidding the project out or not. So before anybody says, well, they can't do that, it's against the rules, against the law, because they're not bidding it out, I will clarify one more time. They are getting a quote, coming back to county commission next month, giving commission an idea how much it's going to cost, and then they will bid it out. So they're not necessarily doing anything wrong, but they're just going through the process. Miss England says, what about the asbestos they have to remove? I guess that's going to be part of this quote, I guess. I would assume so, but I do not know. So that was the Steiner property. Then it was an announcement about the TCAT. I know a lot of people are interested in the TCAT. When's it coming? It should be here already. I've seen several comments talk about it. Well, there is a rendering of what the TCAT's going to look like, where it's going to be. And the TCAT, if you're familiar with the high school, and if you're looking at the high school and you know where the greenhouse is at the high school and where all the propane tanks are behind the greenhouse, in that area, that is where the TCAT will be placed. So the greenhouse and those tanks will be moved to some other location behind the high school, and the TCAT building will be built in that area. Currently, it's out for bid, and they plan on breaking ground sometime this summer. So that's the update on the TCAT. There's the biggest part of the TCAT is a welding classroom, which will be great as far as being a partner with Clayton Homes, which we will talk about later on about this meeting too, where how they're going to work hand in hand. So that's a good thing. So then we got to the, I guess because Dawn brought up the community center for the 4th district. Well, Commissioner Dyer couldn't be outdone, so he had to find him some property for the Speedwell Community Center, which he did. Speedwell's what everybody refers to as the 13th. They did. Commissioner Dyer did talk to a person about some property He called it the Kilgore property. It's off Braden's Chapel Road. It's 1.96 acres for a cost of $30,000. The county will have to provide a well and septic tank, and of course do all the surveys and all that kind of good thing if they decide to purchase that property. And then that kind of had to be kicked off, right? We got to do something about it. We can't pass up this great deal. Again, that's 1.96 acres. And so Commissioner Dyer said, hey, we need to form a committee. We always got to do these committees, right? We got to form a committee so we can, and put a time limit on ourselves of 90 days so we can, negotiate these contracts, and we can get the ball rolling, and we can get these inspections done, and we can have a little bit of say-so and all that kind of stuff. Oh, we got music playing.
I was giving you a drum roll.
So when we're talking about this money, there was money set aside out of the ARPA funds for these community centers. So I'm not going to argue that they're raising taxes for these things or anything like that. It's money that's already set aside. And each center that they were looking for, which is the Speedwell community and the Big Ridge community, that money that got set aside is $200,000 per center. So $200,000 for Speedwell, $200,000 for Big Ridge.
It was money they removed from your wallets last year.
Actually, this ARPA money was from the COVID money.
Oh, okay. Several years ago.
Right. They've just been looking for property all this time.
Yes.
Wink, wink. Looking for property all this time. And so then we get to the I'm sorry. Commissioner Flatford and the Big Ridge property, which is the Bowles property. Again, we talked about it earlier. The Bowles property, we're not looking at the right side of the house anymore. Now we're looking at the left side of the house if you're facing the house. Same property she tried to buy before, just a different section, okay? It is the Bowles property. You play me music again. It's 1.8 acres at a cost of $40,000. It does have city water, but the county would be responsible for some type of sewer system. So they've got to look into that. That's what this committee was formed to do. And Commissioner Flatford says she's been looking and looking and looking and looking and looking and looking and looking for property and can't find any anywhere. And we've got to jump on this right now. We've got to do it right now before we lose it. Again, I want to remind you, I keep repeating it because it's just funny to me, that this is the same property that got voted down last time, just a different area of the property. Same owner. Let me put it that way. Same owner, different property, or different section of the property. Several of the commissioners I've talked to aren't happy with the property. It's not level. The parking will be having to be built on a hill, not going to be handicap accessible very, very easily. So I thought it was funny, right? During this discussion about how long this property's been searched for, and then I get to thinking to myself, Commissioner Flatford had a perfect piece of property that this community center could have been built on. Flat, easily located, and all this stuff. But no, she decided, her family, her husband, whoever decided to build a RV and boat storage place on it instead to, have income for her family. Not going to knock her for that, but it would have been a perfect piece of property for this community center that she so desperately wanted to come to the 4th district. So I'm just throw my little side note there. Shame on you.
I'm just having fun over here.
Me too. But so, anyways, to me, my opinion, these committees are stacked to get certain people's votes voted through. Okay, and so on this committee, it's a 7-person committee. So you got pay attention to these names on this committee, and you can form your own opinion, right? You've got the 4th District County Commissioners, which is Don Flatford and Danny Cook, which I agree should very well be on that committee because it involves this district. Well, then you also have the 5th District County Commissioners, Greg Dyer and No-Show Eddie Simpson. So there's 4. You've got Larry Lay, Angela Connor Murphy, and one more. I'm forgetting one. I apologize. I don't remember the other one. Do I? Larry Lay. I'm missing one. There's 7 total. I just don't remember the last one. No offense to that county commissioner. I just don't remember which one. But if you remember, back to the zoning topic, who's on top of the zoning thing? They're also on this committee to build these new community centers. Here's my other issue with community center, right? Commissioner Flatford wants to put RV, or not RVs. I'm sorry. I got RVs because that's what she's storing down there, right? She wants to put mobile homes as a community center. We talked about this the first time that she wanted to do this. Who on earth thinks that an RV will stand up to community use, having birthday parties, yard sales, and all these things in there, knowing, and I'm not knocking mobile homes at all, so don't get me, but there's a difference when you're using it commercially instead of residentially, right? So who thinks that those walls are actually going to hold up to the tape being put on there to hang up the balloons and all these party decorations and chairs being backed into the walls, these birthday parties? Who actually thinks these things are going to hold up? I don't. It's just common sense. But again, Union County lacks common sense when it comes to government. I just don't understand it. And I did talk to the commissioners about that idea. Again, Commissioner Flatford wants to see if Clayton's will donate one or work with them, get it cheap, whatever. But I did talk to some other commissioners, and they were like, absolutely not. We're not going to be dumb enough to put a mobile home as a community center, especially when, it's going to be harder because they'll have to build steps up to it, whatever. It's going to be harder for folks in wheelchairs and different disabilities to even get into a building like that. So I don't know what they're thinking, but it doesn't make sense to me. But one of the other telling things that I want to point out about this Big Ridge, I'm not talking about the Sharps Chapel or the Speedwell one. I'm talking about the Big Ridge one. One of the comments that Commissioner Flatford said last night was very telling. And that comment was, this is just the start. We're going to build this one. It's just the start. So what's really the plan here? So what are you telling us is going on here? If this is just the start, are you going to build a community center here temporarily and then continue to search for more property to put a community center elsewhere? Is that what you're telling me? Because that's kind of what it sounded like when she made this comment in that conversation. This is just the start.
Drifting part 2.
It's just going to get us started. It's going to get us headed in that direction. I don't understand. I mean, I understand she wants to have a community center in the 4th district. Every district should have one. I get that. Whatever the argument is, I get that. But why, instead of finding a location that won't just be the start, but will be the finish as well, and using it instead of just using, trying to buy one just to have it and say, well, it's just a start, and then we'll move on from there. It's just a start. It's just going to get us where we need to be right now, and then, whatever. But my other thing, and I did speak to some commissioners about this too, and I actually spoke to the mayor about it. She's made it very clear that she does not want a convenience center attached or in the area of the community center. And that's just kind of a nod back to the 3rd district over there. They've got one with a convenience center with it. So again, if you remember, when I was running for county commission, I talked about this. It was one of the things I campaigned on. The 4th district does not have adequate service from EMS. It takes 45 minutes or longer to get an ambulance out here, especially when you go to Lewiston Point in that area. And it's not fair. It's not fair to the taxpayers. It's not for those that are having a crisis. It's not fair, period, to those out here to be underserved the way they are. And I understand Speedwell's the same way, and some other areas of the county are the same way. But here's the thing. If we're going to do this, let's do it right. If we're going to do this, we're going to put this community center here. Why not put an EMS station with it? So, get an ambulance there. Get what the citizens of this county really need. And that's a way to have a safer environment, life-saving. Again, I've told stories of folks that have passed away from heart attacks and other things over here in the Big Ridge area that the doctors have said if she would have got an EMS or an ambulance to her faster, they would have most likely lived, and those kinds of things. It's ridiculous. So why not do something that's actually going to be really helpful instead of just a community center? Let's do a community center and an EMS station. Let's get the service that Big Ridge, the 4th district, actually deserves, and let's get us something that is actually needed. Because in the grand scheme of things, a community center in Big Ridge is not needed. We've got Big Ridge Park here we could use. We've got the school we could use. It's where the voting's taken place for years, and all this kind of thing. What is needed is EMS service out here in Big Ridge area. So let's focus on the right thing and not just something to pat ourselves on the back for.
One thing that I saw in another county, because I've been going all over the state and looking at some of the ways that they set up their communities. And in Sumner County, and I liked a lot of things they do in Sumner County. I was very fortunate to meet Kurt Riley, who heads the Constitutional Republicans over there. They had now we could do the same with a ambulance service, except what they did is they had a community center / fire hall all in one building. And so they opened it up for community events. They rented it out or whatever, and they made the money off of it. And if they wanted to do it for free, I guess they could do it for free, or they could trade or whatever. But they had meeting areas, and they had, whatever they do in these rec halls. I guess they had a gym or whatever in there. And then they had the fire department on the other side. And so the fire people were able to utilize the kitchen facility, They were able to go in there and share that area, make their coffee and make their food. They even had an area where they could sleep next to it. And they made it all inclusive to that particular community. And I think it's called Whitehall or something like that. It's the Whitehall Community Center. And I'm sorry if I've got that name wrong, but it's very neat the way they did it. And if they were to do something like that down the road, get us past this crazy, uncertain time, recession, and save the money since they've already got it allocated, and at some point down the road, actually do both, they may come up with a much better strategy where it would actually not cost as much, and they could do both right there in one building under one roof.
Well, that's what I'm saying. If they're going to do it, they need to do it right and do both. But the focus should be more on public safety than it is on just getting a community center. Community center is fine and dandy. But let's take a step further and let's save some lives while we're trying to do something. Let's do the right thing for the citizens.
It's like you were saying earlier, Union County, like with all these crazy laws and things that they're trying to bring in here on us with zoning and all that, we're still small. We are a small community. Most of the people that live here have been here all their lives or live here because they want the peace and quiet. They didn't move here to have all the big city conveniences. They want a strong, tight-knit community with basic services that they deserve through their tax dollars. I mean, that's what they're supposed to be getting a return on. And I think Union County just doesn't, we've gotten to the point now that our people are not getting a return for the money they pay in. And that's when you hear people start complaining, is when they don't get those basic products and services. And you're right, Jason, it's all about safety. It's all about keeping our community safe. That should be above everything, whether it's police protection, EMS, ambulance, whatever it is, rescue squad. Our people deserve a return on those hard-earned tax dollars. And I think that having those combined ideas, if you want to have something for the people to have their weddings and meetings and whatnot, and we've got some beautiful churches in the area too, we forget those, but not everybody wants to use churches, and I get it. But, why don't we think outside the box? If you're going to build a building and you're investing as much as $250,000, basically, let's be real here. I know that doesn't go as far now. Why not save the money for a day down the road when you can afford to do it the right way, instead of putting up a piece of cheap metal, something that's going to blow over in the wind in a few years?
Well, one of the other things, when I mentioned that about EMS and ambulance and all this kind of stuff, I get thrown up. Oh, well, you're just trying to cause us to have to spend more money to buy a new ambulance and this, that, and the other. Okay? That's what gets thrown up in my face a lot when I mention that. Let me remind everybody that it's in the rules of the county that EMS, the ambulance service, gets a brand new ambulance every year. And they're supposed to, get rid of one when they get one, but they get a brand new one every year. It's in the budget already on top. They get a new one every year. So by building a new station in Big Ridge, instead of retiring one, because we got one, my thinking, because we have a new station, we just wouldn't retire it. We'd have one that we had to get. That's the way I look at it. And I don't know all the stipulations to all that kind of stuff, but It's not that complicated. We like making things more complicated than they need. Plain and simple, we need life-saving devices, ambulance drivers, all those things out here in the 4th District. And Speedwell's the same way, but we're not served as a community, we're not served correctly. And when we're losing lives only because we're not getting those services to us quickly enough, then there should have already been, but there should be something done to try to, to fix it, to change it. And I don't see that. I don't see that here in Union County. So that's my soapbox on that topic. So then the budget committee got talking about what they talked about, and they did make an announcement that they will have the new permit structure, the new permit fees, how much they're going to charge at next month's meeting for a vote. Cheryl Walker pretty much said that no ifs, ands, or buts, we're going to have those new fees for commission to vote on next month. And part of the discussion during that is whether or not they're actually going to hire a building inspector, whether it's part-time or full-time. And Miss Walker said, or Commissioner Walker says that, with these new fees that the county will be receiving, surely they could use some of those fees to hire somebody to make sure that folks are building what they're saying they're building when they get these permits and all these other kinds of things. Now, I do want to stipulate, Union County does have a building inspector that inspects certain things, but they're not a true building inspector. Just to clarify that little statement. Missy Brown talked about the surplus items. The sheriff's department has 36, I believe it was 36 cars that they're going to put on gov deals. And then Larry Lay was like, well, wait a minute, we need to think about that, because if they're only going to sell for $100, $200, we don't need to do that, because we can scrap them for $600 or $700 and yada, yada, yada. Bottom line is they have to be attempted to be sold on gov deals twice before they can scrap them. But they can put a limit on what they could sell for. So that's the plan. They're going to figure out what the scrap price is for each vehicle. And the sheriff is supposed to be working on that. And then they're going to put a minimum on the bid for those numbers. There was some other surplus stuff. Not a big deal. I just thought that 36 cars was quite a bit while we've been sitting on them so long. Anyways, contracts. I thought this contract was kind of interesting. The school board approved a 4-year Little League contract for $1 a year on the middle school football field. And County Commission did vote to approve that as well, which is kind of telling. A little foreshadowing. If we signed a contract for 4 years for the Little League to use that football field and that soccer field and all that, then I guess they've decided the middle school football field maybe isn't the best place to build a new jail. I could be wrong, but they did approve a 4-year contract with the Little League. And they also approved the ankle monitor contract for the inmates to help go mow and that kind of thing, the county maintenance department. That's going to cost $4 a day for each ankle monitor, but they're only charged if they actually use them. So if it's raining and they don't use them that day, there's no charge. So that comes up to roughly $2,080 a year. and that does fluctuate depending on how often they use them. That was approved. And the delinquent tax attorney, who for the past 30-ish years has been David Myers, has now been replaced uh, by attorney Allie Tipton, and that starting the 2022 tax year. And they get that attorney gets 10% of all monies collected. So we move down. You got a discussion about the jail. They're looking at 2 new properties, as I said we talked about. They're looking at 7.44 acres next to the middle school. And the cost of that one, Stephanie's going to fall out of her seat. The cost of that property is $1.2 million. And then that does have access from Main Street and Maryville Highway. I heard a thump. I heard that 1.2 million, and I heard a thump. And the other property they're looking at is actually 36.5 acres across the street from the middle school. Kinda. More next to the sheriff's department. I think it's pretty much kind of a hill there, or part of it anyway. And that cost is $475,000. So that's a better price tag and a whole lot more property. I just don't know how much that property could be used. I didn't do it. Somebody's throwing stuff at me. No, trash can lid fell. But anyways, so that's the newest properties that they're looking at. I know, again, just a recap of what all properties we're looking at for the new jail. Next to the courthouse, the middle school football field, behind Wilson Park, and now these 2 new places. So, again, attend that jail committee meeting. They'll probably discuss some of that a little bit further. And the second to the last thing that happened in the county commission meeting is there was a representative from Clayton Homes, Jerry Muncie, and I've seen some back and forth on Facebook today about Clayton's and that kind of thing about what happened at the county commission meeting. I am going to clarify all that right now. Mr. Muncie from Clayton Homes did not ask the county for 1 red cent, and we appreciate that. He did not ask for any money at all. The only thing he was asking for was for the county to help find some property, because Clayton Homes wants to build some stuff. That was the only ask, and he also asked the county to, and I like this one because this is what I've been screaming for years now. He asked the county to do a better job of bringing some more businesses into Union County. So here's the plan with Clayton Homes or Berkshire or Hathaway, whatever you want to call them. On their current property that they currently are using, they are looking to do $25 million in improvements. They are also wanting to build a $30 to $40 million state-of-the-art facility. Mr. Muncie does live here in Union County. He even talked many times about his number 1 focus was Union County, number 2 was Clayton Homes, in that order. He loves his hometown and all that kind of stuff, so we can greatly appreciate that. And so he is fighting for the state-of-the-art facility to be built here in Union County, which is why he was there at County Commission asking for help to find this property to be able to build this state-of-the-art facility. Currently, Clayton Homes employs approximately 300 folks right here in Union County. Everybody knows that the school board or the school system in Union County is the #1 employer in Union County. Well, #2 is Clayton Homes. So, if this new facility is built, that's going to be at least another 200 jobs right here in Union County. And these jobs aren't cheap paying jobs either. You're talking about $35 an hour jobs for folks right here in Union County. So, what do I got to say about that? County Commission, Mayor, everybody that's involved, get out there and try to find some property for these folks, for this company to stay right here in Union County, because he said they're looking in Claiborne County. They're looking in other counties. Union County could use this for the citizens. Get out there and do everything you can. Try to find this property for these folks. You can get out here and find this property for a community center, you know. And yeah, that's a privately owned company, whatever. It don't matter. I don't care about none of that. What I care about is what's best for the citizens of Union County. And what's best for the citizens of Union County is jobs, is income, and that kind of thing. So we're talking about great paying jobs and a new facility. And he even said that most likely they would keep the other facility running too, and maybe even build more. So
let's see an increased tax base, which is something apparently our commission is not familiar with, or they would be fighting to get business in here. When you have the option of taking the tax burden off of your citizens so that a corporation or a company, whatever it is that's producing jobs, can take that burden off the taxpayers' backs. And they should make this front and center. It's amazing that when we start talking about building big government, they're all about looking for properties from here to there. But when we're talking about, a company that's trying to expand, it's like they're dragging their feet. It's just amazing to me how this works. And I just hope that they wake up and smell the coffee, because they don't have that many people here to keep supporting all this. The county is going to lose population, and it's going to turn into an area that we don't recognize in the future if these commissioners continue to spend people's money the way they're spending it.
Well, you have an option right now. If this could be done, adding at least 200 more jobs at $35 an hour, today's price, it might go up by the time this building's done, but to be able to do that, then that I'd give you an attaboy for that. You'd help do that. That would be something great for this community. That would be something great for Union County. Let's focus on something like that. Let's not be all consumed about building a new jail or new community centers. Let's focus on, like you said, broadening the tax base. Let's focus on bringing jobs to, you're talking about 500 or more total jobs right here in Union County at one company. That would be awesome. And not only that, but you think about, and we're going to tie this back to the TCAT, right? The reason that TCAT is building such a big classroom for the welders, or for welding, is because they're partnering with Clayton Homes. So the students that are in high school, and some of them are already doing it, can take this TCAT classes for welding and go right into Clayton Homes. Clayton Homes has already said, yep, we'll hire them right after they get done and put them to work. Right now, Mr. Muncie said he has 15 kids working for him right now. And these kids are getting paid, get this, these kids are getting paid $22 an hour. I know a lot of people like to be making $22 an hour. These are kids from the high school making $22 an hour. 15 of them. And when they're done, they'll get $35 an hour. That's awesome. And I'm glad Clayton's is giving those kids the opportunity to do those kinds of things. Getting trained and automatically getting a job. That is one heck of a setup, and I'm glad that, you can say what you want about Clayton Homes or whatever, but I'm gonna say I'm proud of them for partnering with the high school and this TCAT when it gets open for the service that they're giving the kids. Plain and simple.
That's very good. I hope they continue.
And then the next thing that happened at the county commission meeting is everybody got kicked out. They went into an executive session. The mayor said everybody has to leave. Old Marty there with the UNL, she tried to leave the camera running, but the mayor said, nope, turn it off, and that kind of thing. And so what that boiled down to is the county's being sued. I don't know what for. I've not dug into it or anything.
How is that? How is that a secret meeting? I mean, maybe I don't know the law. I mean, I used to know the executive privilege or whatever they call it. The school board does it sometimes, but in my opinion, and I'm not a legal expert, so correct me if I'm wrong, any attorneys out there, I think that's the business of the people. Why do we get thrown out of our own business when we're getting sued? Shouldn't we know something about it? Hello?
Well, I don't know if they were discussing specific issues or things about the case or what have you, which could be part of it. I don't know the whole reason. I don't even know what the suit is at the moment. Like I said, I haven't dug into it. But I do know that after, I don't know, 10 minutes or so, we got invited back. And we found out that David Myers cannot represent the county in this lawsuit, even though he's the county attorney. And so they had to vote to hire another attorney. And so that's why we were allowed back in, because they couldn't take any votes or anything while we were kicked out. So we got brought back in.
And my guess is somebody he represents as well as the county. And so he was kind of caught up probably in the crosshair.
Probably.
As a conflict of interest. That's my guess.
So they voted to hire another attorney, and then that was the end of the county commission meeting. One of the other things that really ticked me off, you know how we talked about this new committee that was formed to do the buying and everything of these properties for the community center? Well, immediately following the county commission meeting, this committee met for the very first time, turned the mics off, everything. And they sat at one table and they had their discussion about whatever they discussed, but I couldn't hear it. And I don't know what happened. I don't know what we got told. For all I know, they could have just said, we're just going to buy it. We're not even going to discuss it anymore. Let's just do it. I don't know what happened, because I couldn't hear it. And, the county commission meeting was over. So, of course, everybody's packing up and everybody's talking and everybody's, that just perturbed me a little bit, because I sat there because I wanted to hear what was going on, and I couldn't.
Which table did they sit at? There's only
the table
one.
Larry Lay sits at.
Huh?
The table that Larry Lay sits at.
Oh, and they all sat there in that one little grouping?
Well, there was only, on this committee, there's only 7 folks. And of course, Mr. No-Show wasn't there. So there was only 6 people. And so they sat at that one table. And of course, UNL didn't record it because, I mean, she was already packing up, so I can't go back and watch it. I don't think these committees or any committee or any board or anything should be able to just shut the mics off and just have their meeting without anybody being able to
Yeah,
hear
these are
or
these
even call it. And granted, it wasn't, advertised meeting. It was, very first time that they met because it just got formed and all this stuff. I get all that, but they knew there was people still there. They
it's a
should have.
public meeting. It's defined
They
as a public meeting. They did the wrong thing in turning off the mics and just turning their back on everybody, if that's what they did.
they should have called for people to be quiet because they were having a meeting. They should have, had the meeting like every other meeting. They should have
I hate
done.
I hate to say this and I hate to beat the drum, but it's up to we the people to call this out. So when people don't show up to these meetings and they go do this stuff, they're just pretty much telling you, listen, we know you don't care, you don't show up, so we're just going to do what we're going to do. And that's what they do. And so until we start showing up at these meetings and holding them accountable for these types of actions, they're going to continue to pretty much give us the middle finger. And I'm saying that proverbially, of course.
Sure you are.
The proverbial middle finger.
So that was the end of last night, but it did make me mad.
Should have made you mad.
Because I stayed after the county commission meeting because I wanted to hear what they were discussing, and I couldn't. And there was even other people that stayed, and they were like, oh, what'd they say? Can you hear them? What are they talking about?
If I had been there, I don't know if I guess it was there close to where Marty sits in the little side pews or whatever at the top.
Yeah, they were at that table. They were sitting at the table. So there was mics in front of them. They just didn't turn them on.
And I would have said, hey guys, can y'all turn your mics on? Because we can't hear you. Can't hear words you're saying. And if anybody said, oh, well, we're just having our first, well, I don't care. It's a public meeting. We have every right to hear what you're saying. So that would have, we could have called them out. But you got to have people there, together to do things like that.
Right. So that's the county commission meeting.
Well, you certainly did a good job of covering it, and thank you for going out. And I'm very thankful for those of you who did go to the meeting. Just keep up the good work and keep those bottoms on those seats and ears to those meetings, because folks, we're living in some interesting times, and don't think that they're doing to us here what pretty much Washington does to us. And they still call themselves Republicans. Amazing. So we've got to hold them to their feet to the fire. And, the local Republican Party, I'm really shocked. I'm not shocked, but I am shocked that none of them, really, the leadership, holds these people accountable for all this, all these taxes and everything they've done. Of course, we both know who serves on the commission that is the head of the Republican Party. So, unbelievable.
Barbara says, make sure you listen to the budget and finance meeting. So I have to go back and listen to the meeting. No, I was talking about the planning commission. It was before the commission meeting last night, but I didn't get to listen to it. Maybe that's the one she means. Maybe she means planning commission.
Yeah, those two got me a little confused earlier too.
Well, they don't even call it budget and finance anymore. Now it's just finance. And if they're going to have two meetings that day, they call one budget, one finance.
I was going to say, maybe they forgot what a budget is.
Right. No, but I watched the budget and finance meeting last week. I just didn't watch the planning commission from last night.
So I guess we are actually at the end of the month almost, with Easter being this weekend. And have we got anything coming up next week, Jason, that I need to know about? Any special meetings or anything?
Like I said, the next meeting is Thursday night at 6 o'clock. That's the jail committee. And then I've got to find out, about the 911 board meeting.
Okay, so I guess we'll get back with everybody on our calendar for April. Honestly, because of sickness, we've not had a chance to get, Jason nor I have had a chance to get together and plot out our calendar for April and May. It's amazing as months are flying. But we will do that between now and next week, and hopefully have you guys a calendar of events for April. And we're trying to do this to where we're coordinating with the meetings, and that we can cover the meetings as well as we can, or we can organize quickly if we need to as far as our activism, in case there's some kind of special vote coming up that we need you guys at those meetings. So we're trying to make this all kind of work together, so that people can be well informed. And we also have some plans, which, because of some of the ways they're doing, I'm sorry, I'm getting a headache now.
Because I'm I told you, sharing is caring.
We are actually looking at some things that we're organizing for the spring and summer, but I don't have enough information tonight to really share that with everybody. But we will be sharing that with you guys either through a live or some sort of podcast within the next week or so.
Sounds good. I don't have anything else. You got anything else?
I do not. I just wish everybody a happy and safe week. It's already midweek. Tomorrow's hump day. And I'm going to be pretty busy this week. I've got a lot of things going on, and I'm sure most of you are in the middle of your work week or project week or whatever you're doing, but hopefully we'll have some updates. Oh, and I did want to tell you, be sure to watch our Facebook page for updates on state legislative actions. We are networked across the state with about 17 other counties, and we are keeping our eyes on the state legislature. They do not, they probably won't go into break until, I would guess, April or early May. A lot of people say the sooner the better. It means we don't have to watch our backs. But yeah, so we are still watching those guys work or not work on our behalf. So be sure to watch those legislative actions, and I have to put a link on there that you can contact the website, and basically you just put a bill number in, and then you're able to go to the sponsoring representative and give them a personal call, either a call or an email or both. And we're going to try to do that on the local level as time goes by. But as you know, it's very difficult for us to track. I think, Jason, you've had some success with some of that stuff, getting those commissioner packs ahead of time. How's that still going?
I didn't do it this time, but I just do an open records request the Thursday before the meeting, and they've been pretty good about emailing it to me. I'm just not 100% sure I'm getting everything.
Well, we are working, and I don't know if it'll be this year. It's hard to do it without help, folks. We've got to have some more help. Jason and I are just two people. We need some help. If you have any time that you can help us do record requests, that would help us tremendously, because then we've got people that can help us watch these legislative acts on the local level when they're planning on doing things like raising your taxes, or they're talking in committees about doing certain things to us or concerning our community. we have it ahead of time, it's a lot easier for us to be on the ball about it and get it out to the public than finding out about it a week before they vote. So we really need some of you to help us if you can. We all work, we're all busy. If you all can just help in a few hours a week, like an hour a week or 30 minutes a week, we'd be very appreciative of that. Send us a message and let us know, and we'll show you how to do it. It's pretty easy. It's just filling out a form, sending it to the right people. And once you do it a few times, you're like, oh, that's all it is. That's easy. But we do need help because there's just it's just us and we can't do it all. So we really need your help. So if you can help us, keep an eye on this local government, that would be tremendous. And then we would have a lot more effect on slowing a lot of this down.
Absolutely. And with that, I hope everybody has a wonderful and blessed Easter weekend. I hope that everybody remembers what Jesus bled and died on the cross and did for you and for me. And I'm glad to be a sinner saved by grace. And with that, remember to pray for me. I'll pray for you. God bless and good night.
Happy Easter, everyone. God bless.